Hello viewers, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Bokarina Boulevard, as it would be in Bokarina. We're at the southern end of the Sunshine Coast, and we are east of the Nicklin Way, which means we are beach side, and going to go for a little bit of a walk and talk around beautiful Bokarina. Come along with me on CoffeeChillTV. And folks, just to give you a bit of a time and location marker, it's Tuesday, it's around 9 AM. It's beautiful, there's a soothing breeze, excuse any background noise, and you know, straight ahead there is the ocean. We'll finish our video log today at the ocean. Spin around here, you know, apartment heaven, cafe society, and yeah, we head back this way towards the Nicklin Way. Before I do, a crane in the sky. Now, I've studied economics at undergrad and postgrad level. I'm an ex-finance nerd, and the crane index, it's a thing, guys. I might have put some notes about it, but you know, cranes in the sky, generally a leading indicator of economic activity. It's generally considered a positive in terms of growth in an area, and this area, guys, Bokarina, it is very much flavour of the month as I see it. One of the top flavours of the month at the moment on the real estate scene on the Sunshine Coast. And folks, with all of the economic activity, you can see, you know, more property over there. There'll be some serious price tags on some of this property being east of the Nicklin Way and so close. Hey, I'm a Sunshine Coast Council ratepayer, and you know, my rates are at work in this public green space, and you know what, I'm a fan. I love a bit of green space. Excuse those wind effects again, but I do like it, guys, you know, because you know, you can get cabin fever in those units and apartments, can't you? Well, I do. Look at this, guys, you know, families, you know, exercise, you know, look at these communal barbecues. I tell you what, on the big public holidays, keen competition to reserve those barbecue spots, let me tell you. Nice to see they've got native vegetation here too. One of my favourites, the Banksia. Okay, so there you go, there's the ocean over there. We will head there soon. But on today's video log, this little walk and talk about Bokarina, I've also got a little bit of travel talk. Let me get into that with you as well. So folks, the walk side of today, Bokarina, the talk side of today. I'm going to call this video log Companion Travel, Safety in Numbers. And folks, this video, Companion Travel, Safety in Numbers, it's a little bit of a sequel vlog. It's a sequel to a video I did recently on the Sunshine Coast as well. Filmed that one at beautiful Alexander Headland Beach. That was called Solo Travel, The Power of One. So, you know, we've moved from solo to duos and trios and foursomes and fivesomes and groups. So, you know, travelling plural companions, travel by numbers, you know, and, you know, what are the size and structure issues, you know, any tips and traps, some of my experiences, you know. Let's get into it. Companion travel. Pros and cons, size and structures. Hey, don't also forget, I almost forgot myself. Hey, live to tape narration. CoffeeChillTV. We welcome likes, shares, subscribes, and positive comments. So don't be shy to hit the like button if you do enjoy this video, and equally so if you wish to opine, particularly on this topic. You know, what are your experiences and perspectives on companion travel. Positive comments are always welcome too. So folks, let me give you a little bit of background to, I suppose, the impetus, some of the drivers motivating me to make this vlog today as well. So folks, yeah, look, a little bit of background. I was catching up with a couple of friends recently over a coffee, and they were off soon overseas on another one of these tripper deals. They were off travelling with another couple, like a foursome, and it started me thinking, okay, you know, travelling in a group. I have, by and large, the last few years, most of the time I've travelled solo. So, you know, what about travelling by numbers? You know, got me thinking. And folks, just this morning I was reading an article in the Courier Mail, and it sort of talked about this topic too, and I'll share with you some of the notes I took from that article. So I think they're quite relevant, and I'll give you my perspectives to, you know, sit alongside what was mentioned in this article. I was talking about group travel, you know, talking about sort of, you know, strategies for group travel, issues, opportunities. So let me share with you some of the notes I took. So according to this article, you know, what's good about having company when you're traveling, having some companions, group travel, travel with others? According to this article, enhanced security, shared safety, shared experiences, time and money saving opportunities. I suppose that instant social connection, you know, when you're traveling with people you know, as opposed to, you know, jumping on a big bus full of strangers. And, you know, some in-house experts. So in your group, there may be someone who's a bit more knowledgeable, experienced on a particular location or place. I'll come back to that one soon. And I suppose bonding, you know, there's a flip side to that. I'll talk about that as well. But, you know, it's an opportunity to bond. And I suppose if you're looking at corporate travel, you know, where you go away as a group, you know, there can be team building opportunities in, you know, traveling together as a group as opposed to flying solo. So I found a gazebo, respite from the sun and a little bit of the heat, a beautiful breeze, but hey, you know, there will be some background noise, and that's fine too. So yeah, let's keep moving as we discuss, you know, travel companions, safety by numbers, and let's talk a little bit about maybe the flip side of that discussion. So folks, on the flip side, well, you know, once you're in a group, there are group dynamics, and yes, they can be positive. You know, those positives of traveling, just mentioned before, and we talked about bonding and team building. Yeah, you know, I remember many years ago, the Hawthorn Football Club, they went off together to the Kokoda track. They took it on together. You know, your your teammates motivating you, bonds were closer, natural leaders emerged. So, you know, they went as a large group and walked the Kokoda track, and, you know, from all reports, that was really positive, a really positive exercise. But, you know, on the flip side, I remember, late 80s, going to Perth, the social club. We had like an Easter tennis tournament. It was fantastic holiday, but I do remember disputes over, you know, side trips and accommodation, and there was a couple of big personalities in the group, and, you know, there were a few little dramas, and I'm not sure, on balance, it was a positive team building exercise. And I think some friendships and acquaintances, they went south. They went south. And hey, travelling with other people, I reckon it's the ultimate acid test. Let me tell you another story. So folks, a little bit of a sobering story, a little bit depressing. Early 90s, when I was backpacking through Africa, and I was in Zambia at this campsite. There was a young Aussie couple in a tent near me. I was travelling solo in my little A-frame tent, and, you know, we'd had a couple of drinks over a couple of nights, and, you know, it was all seemed to be going well. But then one morning I woke up, I looked across at the tent next to me, and it seems trouble in paradise. And what was the trouble in paradise? Well, the chap was there, and he had a pair of scissors. He was cutting the tent in two. He was cutting his sleeping bag in two. I said, "What's this all about?" And he said, "Oh, big argument. His lady friend he was travelling with," he said, "you know, he didn't know her that well. They both came from Melbourne. He announced he was going to do this big backpacking trip through Africa, and she said, oh, I'd like to come too." And I suppose they had a bit of a casual romance, but the romance was broken. And now there was a big dispute over upfront and fixed costs, and this guy kind of spat the dummy. He was cutting the tent in two, cutting the sleeping bag in two, you know, and God knows what was going to happen after that. The moral to the story is, if you think travelling with friends, partners, will automatically increase the bonds between you, travelling with your workmates, it does not always go that way, guys. It can go south. And, you know, in terms of couples, I'm speaking from my own experience too. You know, I was seeing someone for a little while, many years ago in Oz. We went away on a holiday together. And yeah, I don't think it enhanced our relationship at all. I think we were Splitsville a matter of months after that, because you know what? Travel, I reckon it's often a bigger test, even than living with someone. If you're both working, you don't see each other for maybe 6 to 8 hours, 5 days a week. You go away and travel somewhere for 2 weeks, you are in each other's pocket. I'll come to some strategies on that shortly, but yeah, don't assume that you get deeper connections and greater bonds and teams are built up stronger by travel by numbers. It doesn't automatically go that way, guys. Sometimes the reverse, unfortunately, happens. And so what about some strategies? I'm going to walk closer to the water. On my way, I'll take some more footage for you and, you know, show you this lovely little pocket of the Sunshine Coast. And when we get close to the water, I'll share with you some ideas on managing the potential downsides and drawbacks of travelling in a group versus, you know, what I typically do, travelling solo. What are some ideas I've got? I'll share them with you shortly as we head closer to beautiful Bokarina Beach. Beautiful Bokarina beach. I've kicked off my shoes. Let's head down to the water and give you a closer look at the action. How'd you like that, folks? Not a bad beach. Bit choppy out there today. Otherwise, I might have gone for a swim myself, but hey, it's a beautiful beach. Not so famous, the Bokarina beach, but you know, pretty cool spot. Turtles come here. There's wetlands. You know, what a lovely little spot it is. Bokarina Beach. So folks, circling back to, you know, the topic of companion travel, you decide you are going to travel with others. The size and the structure, the time and the space, they are the keys in my experience to, I suppose, managing any potential downsides, drawbacks, mitigating the risk that you started a holiday as friends but you're no longer friends. You know, what can you do to kind of, you know, manage any potential drawbacks of travelling in numbers? Size, you know. Now, size is the number of people, and I think the size of the room, the size of the bus, the boat. You know, if there's a lot of you in a confined space for an extended period of time, that's going to test the strongest of friendships. The structure of your holiday, if it's an ambitious itinerary, that can put strains on the friendship. And you know, the size and the structure, what about the location? Certain locations, in my opinion, lend themselves as more favourable to group travel, to travelling in duos and trios and foursomes and 5-6 pluses. Certain locations do lend themselves to you know, companion travel, more so than solo. Let me share with you an experience or two. So Bali, yes, we know it's a favourite with Australians. One of the reasons is it's a multi-generational location. So, you know, granddad, mum and dad, the kids can go to Bali. And there are activities, you can do in Bali that suit multiple generations. You know, you can do full bore adventure tourism. You can go quad biking, you can climb up volcanoes and go out on ambitious road bike trips. You can do that in Bali. But you can also go to art galleries, do cooking classes. You can just kind of cafe hop and just enjoy, you know, sunsets at Qd and sunrises at Sanur. You know, the whole family can go as a group, and you don't have to live in each other's pocket, because it's kind of a multifaceted location. There are some other locations around the planet, guys, that really, you know, they don't offer multiple points of interest to suit different personalities, preferences and styles and generations. As we admire the cactus, plural cacti, a story for me. Oh gee, must have been 10 years ago now, Bangkok. And I was in Bangkok and there was a group of 6. And the group was comprised of myself and my brother, so a couple of siblings. There was a de facto couple, let's say husband and wife. And there's a couple of single blokes. One of the single blokes was the son of the mum in the de facto couple. An interesting mix of people, 6 of us, and we're in Bangkok for about, I think, 4 nights. Unashamedly, I love Bangkok, guys. And a lot of people have a one-eyed view of Bangkok. They think Bangkok is Nana Plaza. There's so much more to Bangkok. And to give you an example with this trip, and I'll talk about different knowledge and different abilities. So on this trip, you know, I was the guy that had been to Thailand the most times, probably about a dozen. There was another guy though on the trip, he'd probably been half a dozen times. Another had been, I think, 2 times. And then there was 3 of them that had never been to Thailand, let alone Bangkok. And what was great about that, guys, was that for the so-called newbies, you know, they could garner the knowledge and experience of those of us who'd been before. And for those of us who'd been before, we could swim in the slipstream of the energy and the excitement of these people on a first-time visit to Bangkok. It was a great little holiday, actually. One of the things that made it work, though, different parts to the city, just different aspects to being on tour in Bangkok. And, you know, the concept of breakout time. You know, and that's probably my biggest suggestion for today's video log. If you're traveling in a group and you've got a bit of cabin fever, you're getting on each other's nerves, you've got different ideas and desires on where you want to travel, how much time you want to spend, break out. Don't be afraid to break out, guys. Don't be afraid to get away for a few hours. Go solo. You know, break from the pack. Let me tell you a bit of a story about what happened on this trip. So, folks, we did one big group activity. We all went to the Grand Palace. You know, the Grand Palace never gets tired for me. I think it was my 4th trip there. I loved it. And it was really cool to see the wonderment in the eyes of the newbies on that trip. But, you know, I love going there too. We did that together. Then we all went over to Khao Road. Had a coffee, had a bit of a look around, did a bit of people watching. Then we got on a canal trip together. One of the guys on the trip, he was the expert in Bangkok canals. He took charge of tickets and where to get on and where to get off. It was fantastic. It was wonderful for me to take a back seat, follow the leader. Later that night, there were 3 different groups. Myself and my brother, we were travelling as a group. We just sort of hung around the hotel. We were at the Asia Hotel, Ratchatui. There's a fantastic little food court, beer garden across the road. We just went there. The couple who were travelling, they went off and had dinner by themselves. You know, just a nice little dinner. I don't know exactly where they went, some little place not far from the hotel as well. What about the young dudes? They went back to Khao Road that night. You know, now I did my time in the early 90s on Khao Road. And hey, they had a wonderful time, and it suited them. You know, maybe I've got too much grey hair. I still love Coast Road, but you know, those guys went back and they had a bit of a session, and they ended up telling us later that they were hanging out with other tourists and travellers the same demographic as them. So there you go, Bangkok. It's a great destination that can mitigate some of the risk of some of the drawbacks that come with group travel by numbers. And folks, before some final thoughts and the wrap up, let me show you a little bit more of this cafe society here in Bokarina. So folks, a final story with a final piece of advice. Just mentioned to you the value of breakout time with the example of Bangkok. And I've got another example, this time Phuket. I was travelling with a group of people in Phuket, and we were coming to the end of our trip, and on the final day there was a long wait. We were flying out at night, and one of the folks in our group took the initiative and went and booked a minivan and a sort of a cooking tour, cooking class, cooking let's eat tour. The trouble was he didn't ask anybody else. We weren't on the same page. In the end, I think there was 5 of us on this trip, and 2 ended up going on the cooking. You know, they went to the markets and bought stuff, then they went and cooked it, then they ate it. This guy had, you know, had his own private minivan, and off they went. And, you know, there was 2 of them, they enjoyed themselves. But, you know, one of the benefits of group travel is those cost savings. And per head, he didn't save as much money as he'd initially assumed. I think he was a little bit miffed with myself and a couple of others, because we just didn't want to go on that excursion. So, you know, final bit of advice, you know, hey, where it's possible, try to be on the same page. And of course, folks, wherever you go, there you are. And so I'm sure you've got some experiences, you've got some ideas. You know, you've made the decision to travel in a group. Do you have an optimal size? You know, what's something you do to overcome the potential drawbacks of, you know, traveling with companions? What do you really like about it? You know, random positive thoughts, guys, on the topic of companion travel. And either way, whether you do or don't contribute, I'm just glad you made it to the end of the vlog. And as always, we do hope to see you again very soon on CoffeeChillTV. Cheers for watching.